What's going on, everybody? It's Monday. This is the Die Hard MMA podcast. You're hanging out here on Pub Sports Radio. My name is Clint. I'm your host, and Pub Sports Radio, there it is. We're going live talking UFC 265. That's right, it's pay-per-view week. We're coming off a bit of a rough event where, honestly, I don't know a damn person who got out of there unscathed. But we're going to do our very best to bounce back, right the ship, get things rolling in the right direction again. And as is tradition, no blue shirt for the boys this week because I did not cash the Die Hard stimulus check, so we're back to rocking the black, and I'll be honest, I miss it already. How's everybody doing? We got Grateful Dude in the chat, Dog MMA, AJS Dad Zach, catching the show live from Italy. That's what's up. Thank you for jumping in here. Manel the Machine in the house, Justin T, we got Toby Kinsella, we got Gregory T, Maron Earl Sports Bets. Your name always gets me, man, with the way it's spelled. We got Jorge Montino, Joshua Lazar, we got Brian Anthony, the GOAT, Tajiki Bay in the house, Jack Attack MMA, Uncle Weezy. What's up, buddy? Thomas, Howard, Joseph, Nassenbaum, Dan Goldstein, the crew's all here, DFS by the numbers in the house. So I am pumped up for this card, everybody. It's a big pay-per-view. We're all excited, and like I said, we're coming off a bit of a rough week. I'm going to do a fast recap for you guys because we got a big card to break down. Dropped 5 units on the week. I feel a little bit bad about that. We kicked it off with an absolute crushing underdog pick. I got 2 units on Phil Rowe at plus 165. Knew that line was way off. He had the advantage at the weigh-ins. I doubled down 2 more units at plus 130, and he came through, absolutely destroyed that. And I thought we were just going to have a baller night after that point. I decided to throw on Jinyu Frey by decision 2-1. Cashed that one. I'm thinking, all right, that's it. We're just off to the races. And my guy, Rafa Garcia, just wrecks us all. So let me just real quick, the Rafa Garcia fight. It's 1-1 going into the third. Now, in that very first round, he damn near finished the fight. So he would have absolutely paid off that minus 250 price tag. We all would have cashed our inside the distance tickets and shit like that. If just one little thing edges right for us, that's the variance of MMA that we always talk about because he was damn close to getting it done. And then it's 1-1 going into the third. He decides to get 2 takedowns. He stacks up a bunch of top control. And personally, myself, I've always vouched for damage, right? If you get a takedown and you do nothing with it, I don't think it should count for as much. So I did not actually score the fight for Rafa Garcia, but it all comes down to the judges. And if we had maybe a different judge behind the desk, they may have actually given round 3 to Rafa for control time. So we still this close to maybe cashing that ticket. Wrong price, obviously, but can't complain overall about it. Brian Barberena inside the distance, even money, plus 100. I would make that bet again tomorrow. That's one that we had every opportunity in the world to cash. Didn't lay the big chalk on it. I actually felt really good about that one, even though we did not get it. Danny Chavez, thank God for the push. If it wasn't for the point deduction, we're losing a unit. I'm done with Danny Chavez. I keep trying. It's not a thing. It's not going to happen. I threw on Jared Gooden late. Thank goodness for that as well. Only a half unit, so helped a little bit. Whiffed on the sub because I thought Jared Gooden had a shot in this fight. Did not expect him to blast through the kid in round 1 the way he did. And then classic Clint fashion, I absolutely read the main event perfectly and pulled the wrong trigger. I talked myself off of just laying the wood on Sean Strickland because I said, you know what? If Sean Strickland is coasting on this fight, if he's winning, he's just going to buckle Uriah Hall over. And he had no interest in finishing Uriah Hall. That was really, really frustrating for me. If you tuned in to the Pub Sports Radio live stream, you could see the pain on my face because it was apparent he just had no interest. He had Uriah Hall hurt from the second round on and could have just put forth the tidbits of effort and would have gotten the TKO finish. But he never even gave Uriah Hall the opportunity to quit because he just kind of sat back and then shot in on the legs. And, very frustrating. Very frustrating. If the Rafa Garcia decision goes our way, or if Sean Strickland finishes, we have a break even or a positive night. Everything goes a little bit different. So we were close. The reads were there. They were on. Just a couple bad bets on my part. So honestly, I'll take my licks. You know what I mean? We've been on a hot run. We were kind of due for a little bit of going back to the mean regression. That's the word I'm looking for. Tjiki starting out with a dono. Only bet this week is $10K on Gane to win inside the distance. Bold Tjiki. The GOAT has spoken. Speaking of Pub Sports Radio, what we're doing tonight, folks, is a treat. We're going to have the boys here at Pub join me for a roundtable on UFC 265. My man Billy and my man Danny joining me on the show. How's everybody doing? How you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't wait to break down these fights, man. Awesome to be here.
Let's go. Billy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Coming off a nice little hot week. Clean sweep on the UFC. Profitable on Bellator. Girlfriend's birthday's tomorrow. So, if there's a time to tell me, it would be this week and last week. So, time is up that.
There you go. Got to put some cash in the pocket. So anybody that joined us on the live stream, hey, I got to give some props to my guy Billy over here. One of my things that I hit live on the show, can't track it obviously because I didn't tweet it out or anything like that, was we all jumped on Melsick round 1 and round 2. So Billy saved me a couple bucks this weekend hitting that round 2 prop. That was pretty sweet. Everybody got to make sure to join those Pub Sports Radio live streams that we're always doing every Saturday, right?
Yeah, also check out the website as well. I put out an article early in the week. That was my biggest straight play of the summer. Pretty high on the Contender Series kids, so make sure you guys tune in.
That's right. Always got content coming from Pub Sports Radio. We're ready to rock, everybody. All right. So just so everyone knows, we did tease that there's the potential for a very special guest joining us later in the evening, but we're not sure that's happening tonight or not. Hopefully we'll get something worked out down the road if he doesn't make it in. We're thinking maybe he joins us for the main card or something like that. So nobody get too excited. We'll see what happens. We just got to wait and see if my boy Randy shows up or not tonight. Fighters, they got those fighter schedules. All right. So let's get into UFC 265, guys. First fight of the night. We have, if I can get this thing up here, boom. First fight of the night we are talking about this evening. Johnyy Munoz taking on Jamey Simmons. Now, Johnyy Munoz is 10-1. Jamey Simmons is 7-3. Johnny's a BJJ black belt, and he's got a powerful body lock, chain grappling offense. I mean, everything we see from this kid is solid. Like, I'm a huge fan of Johnyy Munoz. I think he's got a lot of upside coming in the UFC. When he gets on top of people, absolutely smothering. Slick guard passes, nasty ground and pound, and he just floats on people, He stays nice and light on top. When these guys are rolling, trying to find their way out, he just manages to stay on top of them, floats to the back control, looks for the hooks. Really like everything Johnyy Munoz brings to the table. He's got a 3-inch height advantage here, a 1-inch reach advantage, and he's taking on Jamey, who's a guy that, guys, I don't know if he should even be in the UFC, right? Like, they brought him in to get Giga Chikadze a highlight reel KO. That's exactly what he did. But to Jamey Simmons' credit, I don't want to write him off just yet. For this fight, he's dropping down to his home at 135. That's really where he should be fighting going forward. So he's an absolute wild man. He throws everything into every single hit. Big body shots, a big overhand right that's an absolute bomb if it lands. He hasn't fought a very good level of competition, but he's one of these guys that can show up and has a puncher's chance every single time out. Johnyy Munoz, big minus 250 favorite here. I obviously am leaning here with the favorite on this one, but it looks like a little bit of love is coming in on the dog. Billy, let's start with you, man. How do you feel about this fight? What do you think's going down?
Munoz, I feel like he has a serviceable stand-up for this level. I feel like it's still a work in progress, though, primarily a submission artist. I think he's a world-class jiu-jitsu competitor. I saw a couple things that he's won some belts over there. I feel like I like the under in this fight a lot. He has an 80% finish rate with a 60% submission rate. He made his UFC debut versus Nate Maness on short notice. I think he gave a good count of himself. When his offensive grappling isn't really working too much, he can still get the control time to win fights. Rewatching the Maness fight, I thought he won the fight, but there was a nut shot in the fight where he lost a point. Simmons, on the other hand, like you said, I don't think he's UFC caliber, to be honest with you. 80% of his fights haven't really seen the scorecards. This fight was rescheduled from April because he actually had an injury, shoulder injury. So I have no idea what he's going to look like. He may look even worse than what he is. I really don't think he's UFC caliber, though. I think he benefited from the COVID era last summer where they were just bringing in these people on short notice. I feel like the prediction here is Munoz by sub or decision. And somewhat, we're talking about this pre-flop backstage. not really a lot of solid parlay pieces on the board, and I think this is one of the ones I'm more confident in with Johnyy Munoz. I think it's more of a fate of Jamey Simmons than anything.
Okay, all right. I kind of feel you there, Billy. Danny, what's your take on this one, man? Anything different?
No. We were talking backstage, me and Billy. We don't agree a lot. Sometimes, but when we do, usually we're pretty right. I'm all on Munoz on this fight. I like the under. I think he's just better overall. And like Billy said, when he fought Manus, he looked good. Honestly, he would have won that fight if it wasn't for the nut shots or whatever. I think he personally kind of still won, but I mean, you know how the judges are. He's overall better. He's a beast at grappling, and I think he just does whatever he wants to end this fight and gets a finish. So I'm looking at the inside of the prop, inside the distance, under, round props. Yes, Munoz and parlays too. So I'm all Munoz on this one for sure.
All right. Looks like we're all agreeing early on. We are heavy team Johnyy Munoz, and I mean, I think you guys nailed it. I can't really agree much more. I'm a little shell shocked on the big favorites right now, so I don't know if I'm bringing out the hammers early on this one, but I really don't hate that inside the distance look or maybe violence betting here. We've got looks like the 5 dimes line for the under 2.5 is -125. We'll see if that line is available later in the week when it gets to most of us stateside. I might be interested in a violence bet for this first fight of the night.
Sure.
All
yeah,
right.
don't blame you. If you play DraftKings and FanDuel, this might be a fight that will go under the radar for GPPs.
Yeah, that's a good point. I got to start getting used to talking about DraftKings, man. I'm gonna have to start playing that shit soon.
hey, same. They got me hooked on it for a little bit. I got to start playing again.
Absolutely. All right, MMA locker room in the house. What's up, buddy? All right, second fight of the night, everybody. We got Victoria Leonardo taking on Melissa Gatto. This is one that's got me very, very interested. Victoria Leonardo 8-4. Melissa Gatto is 6-0, undefeated, but she does have 2 draws. Now, Victoria Leonardo looked like an absolute beast on the Dana White Contender Series, and then they threw her to Menifield. I mean, holy crap, that poor girl. I hit Menifield hard in that fight. She was absolutely outclassed. There was not a damn thing she could do. She keeps a high, tight guard, man. She's aggressive. She likes to walk forward, constant pressure, and her real skill is just walking through her opponent's offense. Like, she just likes to disrespect people and get in there and try and get into the clinch, get to the body lock, heavy takedowns, likes to stay on top. She mixes in trips, and she's got good top pressure, man. This is a chick that really is fine with embracing the grind. Yeah, and DFS already hitting me with the 1-800-GAMBLER here on this fight. Couldn't have nailed it more, man. Both these girls are BJJ purple belts, and the reason we're talking 1-800-GAMBLER is because Melissa Gatto, we have not seen her fight since 2018. She's had an absolutely extensive layoff here. Her last fight, though, she submitted Karol Rosa, who is on a 3-0 run in the UFC right now. So her last win is certainly credible, in my opinion. She's got wild striking, definitely a work in progress. She likes to fight long. She does seem to have a lack of power on the feet. She can get bullied physically. She's one of these fighters that accepts bottom position and then likes to chain submission attacks off of her back. She's far more Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu style, looking to sub people. And I kind of feel like we're going to see a new and improved Melissa Gatto. I know that's kind of a dart in the dark here because we haven't seen her in so long, but stalking her on Instagram, guys, she is in crazy good shape for this fight. Now, Victoria Leonardo, she's been working with Andrea KGB Lee, who we know is a solid grappler, likes to use that offensive wrestling. These guys are going to play right into each other. Victoria Leonardo is going to want to close that distance. She's going to want to take Gatto down. Gatto's going to want to play off her back. She's going to want to look for an armbar, a sweep, a submission. So I have a hard time making a fighter coming off a 3-year layoff and who likes to accept bottom position a favorite in this spot. Rightfully so, money's coming in on Victoria Leonardo. It looks like Gatto is a -125 favorite at this point, plus 105 on Victoria. But at the same time, the little hairs on the back of my neck, guys, something standing up and telling me that Gatto's going to come in here and snatch something and maybe even do it quick. Danny, what are you doing on this fight, man?
I don't have the shirt on right now, but this is a fat fight for sure. This is a fireball and popcorn pass on my end. Gatto, like you said it earlier, hasn't fought in 3 years. And I understand she won the last fight against Rosa, but she was getting beat that whole fight until she caught that armbar.
Yes.
Leonardo, she's tough. She's pretty decent. She's got. I know it sounds weird, but she's got some good losses. Like her last fight, like you said, and she lost twice to Miranda Maverick. So I don't knock her for those 3 losses, in my opinion. I actually think Leonardo's a little bit better overall, and she's just gonna avoid the armbar or any submission Gatto tries to commit on. And I think she wins by decision. The crazy thing is, fight doesn't go the distance is like minus 165. So I think the bookies are trying to say that Gatto is going to probably get a submission here. I would disagree. I mean, there's value on the fight goes the distance, in my opinion. But Leonardo just has to be careful, use a little bit clinch work here and there, maybe take her down, but be careful of the submissions and cruise to a decision win.
Okay. All right. I kind of feel you there, but man, this is one of those ones where absolutely anything could happen from any direction. I have no clue how this thing is going to play out. Billy, talk to me, man. How do you see this fight playing out?
This one's a weird one, man, because I hate Victoria Leonardo. First time I got introduced to Leonardo was on the Contender Series last year when she fought Chelsea Hackett. She was only like 19 years old, so she just kind of got her with the experience advantage. I still question if she's UFC caliber, though. I think her striking's not good, and when she throws strikes and combinations, it's very slow. She's more of a grappler, but she hasn't been able to really pull it off at a high level. When she fights good people, she loses, and her striking defense is horrible. She's so acceptable to the high leg kicks. In the regional scene, Aaron Blanchfield, East Coast girl, hit her with the high leg kick, and we saw Marion Furrow do the same exact thing in her last fight. And then Gatto, on the other hand, she's coming into this fight off of a 2-year layoff. Still at the age of 25, she can look completely different in a short amount of film that we have seen. Because the best film that we've seen from her was against Carl Rosa, and that looked like if it was recorded off of somebody's fucking flip phone. the Brazilian thing. So I don't really know how much I can really take from that. She's an aggressive submission artist. I think she's way more comfortable taking to the fight to the ground rather than her striking. Her striking is a huge work in process. Pretty much non-existent overall. I would lean Leonardo being the better striker, but the only thing that I think that's in her favor, though, it looks like the UFC promotion's very high on her. She has canceled bouts against Julia Avila and Maria Agapova, so for the UFC to think that she's good enough to take those spots, should be a layup fight for her. Sometimes we consider those Contender Series fights as like a real first fight in the UFC, and I feel like this is her Contender Series fight. She's fighting a person that isn't that high of a level. I feel like Gatto should get the sub. And in a weird way, am I betting on a girl because she has canceled bouts against Julia Alvia and Maria Agapova? I don't know, but at minus 142, she ends up subbing this girl pretty early. That price tag's going to be like minus 250 next time she goes out. So it seems like more of an extra prop than an actual play that I want to play on the board. When you're sitting there watching the UFC card and the first night goes right. But I think the early prelims, you can't even live bet. So this is something I'm probably going to have to dig a little bit deeper into. But initial lean is Melissa Gatto.
Okay. So I'm kind of leaning more with you here, Billy. I do think that the UFC is high on Gatto for a reason. And I was listening to Stat Diggers, which, by the way, if you guys have not seen that, check out Stat Diggers. Uncle Wheezy and DFS by the Numbers on Sunday always go through. They talk the numbers, and there's always a bunch of hidden gems in there. I think that one of them said that Gatto is coming off a PED suspension, and that's part of the reason for her long layoff. And I got to write the record here, everybody. We all hate cheaters. We all hate people that are looking for that extra advantage. But when it comes to betting and putting money in our pockets, give me the drugs. Like I will take the juiced up chick that's got the unfair advantage if it means cashing a ticket. So, man, I'm going to go ahead and lean Gatto here. I totally understand the money coming in on Leonardo. And if she minds her P's and Q's, she can just smother this chick. You know what I mean? She can just grind her way out to a decision. Absolutely. But you're going to be sweating the full 15 minutes with Gatto squirming for arm bars that entire time. So just tread lightly on this card. Not on this card necessarily, but this fight. Be very, very careful no matter which side you end up taking on this particular fight. All right, everybody. What was that, Billy?
I definitely don't blame you there. That is the type of fight that I wouldn't wish my worst enemy.
Yeah, just pass, in my opinion.
Danny nailed it. We need to break out the Fireball and Popcorn t-shirts for this one. All right. We've got 239 live viewers. Thank you all so much for spending your Monday evening with us. We appreciate it. Do me a favor, hit that like button. You know we always got to ask you to do that. And real quick, I do want to shout out my sponsors, Goat Capital Sports, at Goat Capital _. And we help you out as much as we can with the MMA betting content here. Make sure you check them out if you're looking for a reasonably priced picks service that handles all the other sports, especially golf. They just kick ass in golf like every single week. I can't say enough about it. So make sure, let them know I sent you their way, and they will make sure to take care of you over there. Walla Dose in the house. What's up, buddy? How you doing? All right, next fight up, we're talking Miles Johns, Anderson Dos Santos. Now, this was a fight that has been rescheduled. We talked about it just a couple of weeks ago, so we're all very familiar with the matchup. Miles Johns, kind of your classic wrestle boxer, right? This guy has heavy hands. He likes to grind on his opponents. Big-time takedown offense. That's really what he's known for, is just grinding people out. And he's added some real power striking to his arsenal. Anderson Dos Santos, far more experienced. He's bigger. He's aggressive. He's got that killer instinct, always looking to put his opponents out. And he's got that high-level Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage in this fight. And this is kind of changing of the guard, right? Everyone's scared about this older bantamweight fighter because speed is everything in the lower divisions, and it seems like the bookies are wise to the market move. They opened this one a little bit shorter. I know a lot of people upset because their minus 170s on Miles Johns have been pushed, and now they got to rebuy in at about minus 205, minus 225. The comeback on the underdog is about plus 180. And I was extremely tempted on the underdog right before kickoff when this fight originally was scheduled. I just had that weird feeling that Anderson Dos Santos is going to show up and surprise everybody. Miles Johns tends to slow down towards the end of his fights. And this was my round 3 sprinkle spot, guys. This was the spot where I was like, Miles Johns is going to win this fight until he's not winning the fight. And I think there's a chance that Anderson Dos Santos can spring the upset late, but I do expect Miles Johns he's the rightful favorite here. You know what I mean? He should be able to just grind this thing out, but does he get a finish? I don't necessarily think so, and if he doesn't get the finish, you know that Dos Santos is going to go for the kill at every opportunity. So a bit of a dicey spot in my particular opinion. Billy, talk to me about this fight, man. Do you have a bet on this one?
Man, this is the worst thing that you could see from a sports betting perspective is a reschedule bout. Man, the sports books have all the advantage here. When you get a reschedule bout, the sports book sees all the lines, basically all the tickets, and then they rescheduled it and reopened it 15, 20 cents more in Miles Johns' favor. Johns is a Contender Series vet. He uses wrestling background early in his fights, but of recent, he's been really swinging punches pretty hard. Last fight, he's coming off a late round knockout versus Kevin Natividad. Not really that good of a fighter, but a good win for him. Personally, I think he has questionable fight IQ. I think he's fell in love with his striking of recent. I think he has power, but I don't think that the volume is there in the later rounds. He often becomes more hittable, slows down a lot in his fights. I think his fights are a little bit closer than I really like to see. 6 out of 11 of his fights have gone to decision. Dos Santos on the other side, man, he's an aggressive grappler, man. 57% submission rate coming off of a first-round submission versus Martin Day. Martin Day's kind of trash, though. I don't really read too much into that one. But he's not the most technical fighter, but he's a dog, man. He's going to fight for your money. I think when it talk about power, I think you can compare power, nice overhands. When it comes to the grappling, I lean Dos Santos being the more better one between the two. And cardio-wise, I think he has a better gas tank than Miles Johns. As a slight underdog, I think it's Dos Santos or pass for me. We'll wait later into the week. If more parlays start coming in on Miles Johns and I can get like a plus 165 through a plus 180 on Dos Santos, I might pull the trigger. More of a DraftKings FanDuel perspective, I'm more Dos Santos than Miles Johns. I just think people are parlaying up Miles Johns and playing him, and I just don't think it's that cut and dry that he wins this fight.
All right. I totally get it, man. Absolutely get that stance. I just I got my tinfoil hat on. Danny, where are you going on this one, man?
So originally I had a bet on Miles Johns when the first fight was scheduled. I had him by decision at plus 135, and obviously now it might be a little less. It might be around like 110. I still feel the same way. I think he's a better fighter, but he's got to be careful. For me, he has to use his grappling in a way, and I agree with Billy. He is falling in love with his striking, which worries me a little bit. But I think he can mix it up and avoided, the takedowns and submission attempts from Anderson dos Santos. And Santos' striking accuracy is horrible. He's like 28%.
Yes.
And that's what scares me also, because he could get caught. And he's not the biggest puncher, John's not. But if he catches you around that chin, you're going to go steep. Plus, Santos is 36 years old, and that time, he's getting older. So I think if he gets caught, he might go sleep. So I'm having a hard time if I want to go back to that decision prop, or maybe an under here, or if fight doesn't go the distance. That's what I'm looking at.
Okay. Man, I don't hate the under. Dos Santos is a guy that's, been finished. He's getting up there in age. We know that usually tends to lead to more finishes. So not necessarily a bad look. And like I said, he does go for the kill when he gets the opportunity. And if Dos Santos is going to win, you got to think it's going to be inside the distance. We really don't expect this guy to be able to win minutes against someone like Miles Johns. So, yeah, I don't mind the under. Under 2.5 looks like it came out around plus 160, plus 165. And the way Miles Johns has been striking lately, I don't hate it.
Not bad.
Violence bet, not a bad spot, man. Boston Nick MMA cheering in here with you, maybe looking at the under. All right. I like that. I feel like we've broken that down pretty effectively and efficiently, boys. There's some opportunities on this one, but just be careful parlaying Miles Johns. I know that he was a big hammer spot for a lot of people the last time it got put together. I don't know. We got to be careful parlaying on this card. There's not many spots I feel like are parlay worthy.
I agree.
Next spot up, everybody. Maybe the talk of the town so far. Manel Kape taking on Ode Osbourne. And you know what? For me personally, guys, I've been a backer of Ode. I've actually been a backer of Manel Kape. So this is an interesting spot. We got Kape coming in 15-6. Ode Osbourne 9-3. And I think I'm saying that wrong. I think it's Kape, actually. Anyway, Manel, athletic, fast, explosive. This dude throws flying knees from all over the place, but he kind of headhunts. He's a little bit low output. We've seen him slip a couple of decisions away recently, and he's been very competitive so far since he's come over to the UFC. We know he's absolutely getting the treatment. He's already diving straight into the deep end of the division, but he's got his back against the wall in this spot. He's looking for his first UFC win. Probably got to get that one. Well, you know what? I'll bet you the UFC throws him a bone. I'll bet you even if he were to lose on Saturday, he's too big of a name. He's too fun of a fighter. He'll get one more shot if he doesn't quite get it done on Saturday, in my opinion. The big thing that I have an issue with for Manel is he's got such low fight IQ. He's one of these guys that goes out there and fights to fight. So if he were to rein it in, if he were to get Trevor Whitman behind him, he would be an absolute monster. But he does what he wants to do in the cage. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it kind of reminds me of a Diaz brother where he does the wrong things and then cries robbery because he won the fight, even though he didn't actually do what MMA scoring criteria does to get a win. Personally, I thought he beat Niklas in his last fight. I think he did enough to get the nod there. I know that was a very contested decision. Ode Osbourne on the flip side of this thing, this kid's got explosive power. He's absolutely a killer, a finisher. He's coming off a layup over Jerome Rivera, so this is a huge, huge step up in Ode Osbourne, and this kind of feels like a sink-or-swim spot, in my opinion, for the UFC. They're giving Manel a spot where they're going, okay, either this kid is going to be our prospect or you're going to be our prospect. You better prove it to us which one it is. So big opportunity here for Ode. Now, the big thing for me with Ode is he is dropping from 145 to 125, 2 full weight classes. He's been fighting at 145, 135 basically his entire career. He is not a guy that cuts weight. He's a Frankie Edgar style. I'm going to fight at my walking weight. And he's really had some good success doing that. He just is finally at the point where his opponents are too big, too powerful, too strong. He ran into Brian Kelleher, and he couldn't handle the ground game of a big, muscly wrestler. So he's finally dropping, and really 125 is where he always should have fought. So personally, I'm not scared about him cutting to a new weight class and being able to make that weight because he should have been doing this all along. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage, and this is one of those dogs that I like backing because he absolutely fights for your money. Like, you have got to put Ode Osbourne unconscious, otherwise he's coming. So I'm fine backing Ode here. I got in early. I've got 2 units at plus 175, and I know a lot of people are probably wondering, I'm actually trying out something new, all right? When I get these lines, that I feel are egregiously wide. Instead of doing my 1 unit bet, I'm doing 2 unit bets on them. And I'm just trying to test this out and see how it goes for the next little bit. So far, it's been working out pretty well. That's what we did with Phil Rowe last time around. I doubled up in a spot that I normally would only have 1 unit because I felt like it should have been a 50-50 or maybe even Phil Rowe the favorite. This is another spot where, because of Manel Kape's questionable IQ and the size advantages for Ode Osbourne, that finishing upside, I think this should be a 50-50. I'm going to abuse that plus 175. I put 2 units on it. This may end up costing me in the long run, and I might back it down to 1 unit a shot. We'll see how it goes, but just for the people watching my plays, you're seeing more 2-unit plays than usual because I'm testing that out. I'm curious to hear what the boys think of this one, because I know this is a spot where a lot of people are going to side immediately with Manel Kape, and this is more of a line bet than a fighter pick on my side of things. Billy, let's start with you, man. Talk to me, Manel Kape versus Ode Osbourne. What's your read on this fight?
Oh, man, Manel Kape, man, had a lot of hype coming into the UFC, former Rising champion. He's not been able to have success so far in the UFC career. On a quick 2-fight losing streak, honestly, I think if he loses this fight, he might get cut. Maybe they gave him a pretty good signing bonus where he got a 3-fight contract or a 4-fight contract. I don't know. But long story short, this is a fight that he needs to win. Kape has very good striking, a lot of power for this lower weight class. The output has been a problem for him. Doesn't really let his hands go as much as you would really hope for. So far in the UFC, I feel like he's really fought primarily grapplers, and that's really exposed his wrestling deficiencies. His last fight, I thought he gave a good account of himself. I thought he also won that decision against Nicolau. But, you know, sometimes when it goes to the judges' scorecards, it happens. Ode Osbourne, on the other hand, I think his fight style is very fan-friendly, so there's going to be fans in the stadium for this weekend's card. 88% of his fights have not seen the judges' scorecards. I will say, though, he's ran through some trash cans in his regional scene. Hard to get a really good gauge on how good he is. He won his last fight against Jerome Rivera, but I think Jerome Rivera absolutely sucks, but he did hit him with a nice left cross. I would really target this fight for GPPs and DraftKings and FanDuel. I think a lot of people are going to shy away from picking the flyweight class for a fight to finish. I'm leaning towards on the side. I think there'll be a talent discrepancy between these two fighters. I know Ode Osbourne has the physical reach advantages, but I think this is a winnable fight for Manel Kape. Will I be backing him going to the window in this spot? Probably not. Manel Kape has definitely lost me some money. I think his striking is the better one between the two. Overall, I think where this fight could be trouble is if it sees the ground. I think Kape will definitely look like a fish off his back. This might be one, call me crazy. I might have to watch a couple of interviews and see where Kape's mindset's at and if Javier Melendez is in his corner or not for him, a.k.a.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. We got a bit of a disagreement there. Real quick, before I jump over to Billy, we got a donation from Rusty Tenakun. Thank you very much for the donos. Supports everybody. Keeps the lights on here at Pub Sports Radio. Guys, my pick is Miles by KO. ADS is slow, very, very hittable. Also gets controlled on his back. Miles has better cardio now. Good striking. Hey, I like the take, man. I like the take on it. And like I said, I think that under is definitely in play with the way Miles' striking has come along. Appreciate it, man. Danny, talk to me, man. Where are you going with this one? Ode Osbourne versus Manel Kape.
So I already placed a bet. I agree with you, Clint. I'm on a plus 175 on Osbourne. I actually been fading Kape since he got to UFC. Funny story. After his first fight, he was complaining about not wearing shoes for the first time in the fight, and he was saying that his feet were, sweaty. He felt like he was a little slippery in there. And that's why in the second fight he wore those ankle little sleeves. Mm-hmm. I got lucky in the second fight. I'm not gonna lie. It was a close fight. Could have went either way, but I think Kape got it. I think Kape won that fight, but it was a close one. I just like Osbourne. I like him in this weight class. He was actually supposed to fight Alabazi, but he got canceled at this weight class. So he was already training for this weight class, and like you said earlier, he used to fight at 145 at his regular weight. Didn't have to cut. So I actually like this move. He's gonna have a 5-inch reach advantage, and he's a killer. I know his competition is not the greatest, but he's making these guys look extra trash. And Kape, he doesn't throw a lot of volume. The best run he's had since these two fights with Pantoja and Nikolai was the second round. If you see that fight with Nikolai, that's when he came alive. He started throwing more and things like that. But in that third, he kind of gassed that first half of that third round. And I think that's why he doesn't throw a lot of volume. For me, his gas tank is kind of suspect. And that's why he tries to be conservative with his striking. And I'm all over Osbourne. I think he gets it done. I think the line was way off. And I advise people not to parlay him at, minus 200 or whatever number it is at right now. So I'm on Osbourne all day as an underdog.
All right, man. I'm glad we see eye to eye on that one. And I couldn't agree more that be careful if you're trying to parlay Manel, because the IQ, it's just such a big problem. Like, even if he wins this fight, unless it's with some kind of a flying knee or something like that, I don't know that he's going to look like he pays off that price tag. I could see this one being very close, being very hairy. And the fact that he's low volume and hittable, I think that's where that reach advantage of Ode is going to come into play. So hopefully we've got some good luck with that underdog money. All right, that finishes up the early prelim portion of the show, everybody. We're headed on to the regular preliminary portion of the show, and we are kicking the fight off with Karolina Kowalkiewicz taking on Jessica Penne, women's strawweight fight. Let me go ahead and just get it out of the way that before Jillian Robertson was ever a twinkle in my eye, Karolina Kowalkiewicz was the woman in the UFC that I would simp for. She was the one that I just couldn't get enough of, and always had to be careful with betting because I wanted to love and support her every time she stepped in the cage. And I have had to back way off of that because let me tell you, she's coming out of retirement for this fight. She does not like getting hit anymore, guys. That was the biggest thing on her way out the door. She fought some of the toughest girls in the division, and you could just see every single time she took a shot, she was trying to run out of there. She just didn't really have that fire anymore, and that's what really concerns me about her comeback fight here is we saw the same thing with like Alexander Gustafsson. I faded the shit out of that dude in his comeback fight because once you lose that fire, once you decide to hang it up, very rarely do you come back and have that back in spades. We've seen it a couple times recently, like Miesha Tate did it. She did it successfully, and Karolina is now training with Joanna Jędrzejczyk, so maybe she does have what it takes. Maybe she has rekindled that fire for this thing, but I'm a little bit nervous of it. She's a volume striker. She doesn't really have a whole lot of power, and she can get physically overpowered by her opponents relatively easily. Lots of red flags for Karolina in this spot, in my opinion. Jessica Penne, on the other hand, kind of the same situation, right? She took on some of the higher end of the division. She's never been all that slick on the feet. She kind of slaps instead of punches sometimes when she strikes. Very awkward. She's got a good ground game. She barely squeezed out a win over Lupe Godinez her last time out. And honestly, I don't think she won that fight. We talk about like aggression and stuff like that for the MMA judging criteria. We saw her get absolutely bodied, like picked up and chucked into the corner of the cage. And for some reason, the judges just didn't think to score that for Godinez. So not sure how or why Penne really won that last fight. I feel like she lost it, but she has been training with Angie Overkill. So she's getting some high-level training partners leading up to this. Another girl who's on the card. She is going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here in this spot. The thing that kind of jumped out to me is Jessica Penne likes to grapple, and she's got a 42% takedown defense. The one thing Karolina Kowalkiewicz really has that she went to, even in those fights where she was struggling, is a good body lock. I almost feel like if she decides she wants to grapple here, that Karolina might be able to grind out a win. And if these two were fighting, 4 years ago, Karolina would have been a massive favorite in this spot. So maybe there's some value on Karolina. It's kind of a pick'em, slightly favored to Karolina, minus 125, plus 100, plus 105 on the flip on Jessica Penne. Very sketchy fight. Real quick, shout out to our guy Sharpie here for the dono. Love seeing Danny Betts and Billy on the show. Danny, talk to me, man. Do you have a play on this one? Are you betting anything?
Hell no. I'm not touching this fight. First of all, Penne is 38 years old. Like you said, I thought she lost to Luque in her last fight. I don't know how you don't score those tosses. She was getting tossed like a little, what. It was crazy. But Karolina also, I just can't put money on this. I understand she's training with JJ, which should help her for sure. If I had to pick, I got Karolina by decision. I think she could keep the fight on the feet. And just throw a little bit more volume, pick her apart from, striking and edge out decision, but I am not touching this fight at all, boys.
All right. Fair enough, man. Billy, how about you?
For starters, man, this is a horrible fight to bet on. There's so many question marks. Like, you just go down the list left and right. Penne won the Ultimate Fighter Season 20. Since then, she's gone 1-3 in the UFC. Her last fight, she barely snuck out a decision. She only won that fight because she backed Luque for majority of the fight, to be honest with you. Her striking is very methodical, easily telegraphed. And Karolina, on the other hand, man, she's 2-6 in her last 8 fights. I will give her the experience advantage, though, between the two. Her losses are the top 15 girls. Even though she's the younger fighter, I think her days of competing in the division are long gone. So I don't really get why she really came back for this fight. I don't really know where her headspace is at. She does throw a decent volume on the feet, but no head movement whatsoever coming back. She's very hittable. She absorbs at the same exact rate that she lands. I lean Penne here with the dog price tag. I think the grappling in her back pocket will definitely win her this fight. I would need a little bit more plus money from a betting perspective to pull the trigger on it. I think the over would be heavily juiced by the sports books, but I definitely do agree with it because neither girl has really shown true finishing upside. So DraftKings perspective, FanDuel perspective, I'm not playing it. If I did have to pick something in this fight, give me the juiciest line that's probably created in the world, like in a huge Hail Mary parlay. But other than that, I really don't want to play this fight. But the pick will definitely be Jessica Penne here over Karolina.
Okay. So we got a dog or pass spot here for Billy. We got a pass or pass spot for Danny. And I'm going to go ahead and lean with the favorite, Karolina. Man, I don't get the sense that she comes out like a bat out of hell like our girl Cupcake did. So I don't know that I'll be playing her by TKO or anything like that. I think if you're picking a side here, juice it up, take the decision prop. The over 2.5 probably hits. Neither of these women are prolific finishers, and they're both tough. They both hang in there when they're on the wrong side of beatings as well. So I definitely think that the over is in play here. All right. We are now talking about some big boys. We've got Alonzo Menifield taking on Ed Short Fuse Herman, one of my favorite fighters of all time. I still remember Ed Herman from his Ultimate Fighter days, man. I thought this guy was going to be absolutely legit. And then he had kind of a bumpy career, took some time off, and here we are. He's making a late run, man. He seems to show up and be entertaining every single damn time out now. So Ed Herman is a guy that many of you may remember, the king of veteran savvy. This guy managed to get a win over one of the worst fighters in the UFC his last time out by faking a nut shot, got some time to recover, then came out and beat the dude's ass. I love it. I absolutely love it. He's taking on Alonzo Menifield, who's 10-2, and boy, he is getting just so razor thin close to that busted prospect area. Alonzo Menifield is an absolute powerhouse, right? But he's got a horrible gas tank. If his fights get out of round one, he absolutely falls apart. He's got nothing left to give. In the first round, though, he's deadly. This guy comes after everybody and has a big finish upside. Ed Herman, much more well-rounded, much more experienced. We talked about that veteran savvy, but boy, does he have miles on his body. He's out of gas about 3 minutes into the fight, and at this point, he's a certified can crusher, in my opinion. But he never quits on himself. He just, unless you absolutely get him out of the cage, Ed Herman is going to continue fighting. He's actually the bigger guy here. He's got a 1-inch height and a 1-inch reach advantage. Obviously, Alonzo Menifield is thicker, but Ed Short Fuse has the bigger frame. Man, we've got another spot where Alonzo Menifield is a giant favorite. He's sitting about minus 250, and you can get plus 200 on the underdog Ed Short Fuse Herman. Billy, are you trusting Alonzo Menifield at minus 250 this Saturday?
Oh, man. I can't even. This Alonzo Menifield, man, I can't even. Don't even get me started on him. Herman is on a 3-fight winning streak, but somewhat unimpressive one. His last fight, he got knocked out by Mike Rodriguez, but they ended up not calling the fight, and they ended up throwing up a third-round Hail Mary sub and got the sub off. The fight didn't really age too well, though, because Mike Rodriguez lost his next fight and got subbed by Danilo Marquez. The fight before that, he won a decision against Khalidis Ibragimov, who's no longer in the UFC anymore. At the age of 40, I feel like he's in the decline in the UFC currently, hence why the promotion brought in Alonzo Menifield for this matchup. He's coming off a round 1 Von Flue choke versus Fabio Chirat, who was on short notice, LFA heavyweight guy. He showed an extra wrinkle in his game with that Von Flue choke. I did not think Alonzo Menifield had any submission type of skills at all, but I guess he does now. I still believe he's more knockout or bust. 70% of his pro fights have been in round one finishes. I think he should be the bigger, stronger, faster fighter between the two. I can't parlay up Alonzo Menifield. I think on paper he should absolutely run through Ed Herman. But there's something about those COVID losses that just kind of stick in the back of my brain a little bit more because that was the only sport that we could bet on. So it kind of hurt me a little bit more. And I just can't bet Alonzo Menifield in the parlays. But on FanDuel, they do have Alonzo Menifield rounds 1 or 2 group prop. And that is a prop that I'm going to have to pray and take for the board this weekend, man.
Okay, fair enough, man. Danny, what about you? You making any moves here?
No bet yet, but I gotta agree with Billy on this one. That's why I'm looking at round 1 or 2 for Menifield. I think this is a good matchup for him. Ed Herman is 40 years old. I think, he's past his prime, obviously. He's savvy, I get it, I understand that, but his defense, his striking defense is not that good. And I think Menifield, I'm not going to say this is a layup for him. I would not parlay. I agree with Billy. I would not parlay Menifield on none of your parlays. This is the last hurrah, in my opinion, for Menifield. Like, I'm looking at them, under 1.5. I don't know where's it at right now. I don't know if you can pull that up, Clint.
Yeah, it looks like even money, plus 100.
That's not bad. I might take that eventually. I'm not sure 100%, but I'm looking at that or Alonzo by KO or inside the distance, whatever number I could get. Not 100% sure if I'm a bet it, but that's what I'm leaning towards right now.
Okay. J Money knows what's up, man. This is such a sketchy spot that it's dog or pass for me. Like I cannot for the life of me trust Alonzo Menifield, and we have seen so many of these spots recently where you get that low tier KO or bust fighter that's a giant favorite, and I mean, everybody's loading up on Khalil Roundtree round 1. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of vibes this fight gives me. And somebody in the chat mentioned it, that this gives me Rafa Garcia vibes, man. Like, he should come in here and just roll through this guy. But that savvy veteran Ed Herman, if he goes for the body lock, if he pushes Menifield up against the fence, if he can just get out of round 1, I got a feeling that he wears Menifield down, tires him out, and then subs him later. But again, I don't know that I can put my money on that. You know what I mean? I don't hate the violence bet. I think the under 1.5 might absolutely be the way to go because most likely outcome is Alonzo Menifield KO round 1. But I think there's plenty of finishing upside for Ed Herman on the other side of this thing too. So definitely more violence than anything. But Ed Herman inside the distance, I'm not going to lie, has me just a little bit interested on this one.
I can't play that, Clint.
Not going heavy on
Hey, Clint, remember, he's 40. I'm just saying.
That's true. He is 40. We've got the rule. Jeff Slaughter in the chat here. Menifield takedown defense, surprisingly, amazingly excellent. And you're right, Jeff. It actually is. And that's where, like I said, Herman would have to pin him up against the fence and lay on him for a good 10 minutes or so before he was able to go ahead and do anything like that. I'm leaning more towards the under 1.5. Absolutely, because it encompasses both guys finishing there. I like that spot a whole hell of a lot better, but I just can't stomach Menifield at minus 250.
I agree.
All right, guys. We are moving this show right along, making good pace here. Vince Morales taking on Drako Rodriguez. This is a fun fight. This is going to be a barn burner. Bantamweight matchup. Vince Morales is 9-5. He's 1-3 so far in the UFC, so another back against the wall spot. Drako Rodriguez, the guy that is coming off of a loss, KO'd dead by the other Zahabi. And he was the Twitter darling of the week, man. If you all remember, Drako Rodriguez was the hammer spots when that fight was taking place. And I was trying to warn everybody. I actually think I had a little bet on Ayman Zahabi, if I remember correctly, or maybe it was just a pass. But everybody was all over Drako, and now here he is, a pick'em price tag against Vince Morales, and I hear nothing but love on Vince Morales. He opened up a plus 120 underdog. So much money has come on Vince that it's now minus 110, minus 115. Like, we're about at evens here on this spot. That line may even flip. There's so much love for Vince Morales. He moved over to Syndicate MMA. It's a good gym. Everybody understands that. It's a good place for him to be. This kid's got nice footwork. He's got lots of feints. He does seem to struggle with the low kicks, though. In both of his UFC fights, he's fought some big-time opponents that have some really high upside. They ate him alive with the leg kicks, but he's got good head movement. He's elusive, and he's got a big overhand right. Vince bites down on the mouthpiece and absolutely goes to war every time out there. He's got a 1-inch reach advantage here in this fight. And Drako Rodriguez on the flip side of this thing is an aggressive fighter. He's got a heavy calf kick, and we've seen that be a problem for Vince Morales already. This guy winds up big power bombs. He's got a hard jab, a sneaky submission game. The problem for me is that Drako Rodriguez does not move his head. He's right on the center line constantly. He is there to be hit. He's 2-0 as a pro boxer, and both of his losses have been by knockout. So very close fight here. Questionable issues on both sides of this one. Danny, are you making a move on this fight?
I've been eyeing this fight for this whole past week. Once I get my hands on that prop, the under fight doesn't go the distance, I am gonna not smash it, but I'm gonna put a unit or two on that. I think this fight ends. You got Morales; he's fighting for his career right now. Like when you put somebody like that in that type of situation, they're gonna fight for your money, and they're going. And he's been saying in interviews that he's gonna go in for the kill. He's the better overall striker in my opinion. More volume. The thing is, he does get taken down, but his get-up game is really nice. He always ends up getting up. Drako, on the other hand, striking defense is trash. It's about 26%. I know it's a small sample. There's only been a couple fights, and I don't understand either, Clint and Billy. Like, there's been a lot of hype on this kid. Like, I don't get it, but he might prove me wrong here. But I just see violence on this fight. I just see violence. I could see Drako, getting the takedown, going for a sub. Morales been subbed twice, been knocked out once. And like you said, Draco's 2 losses been knocked out. So I like the under here. I think it's in plus money. So I'm definitely going to bet that once I get my hands on it.
Okay. What about you, Billy?
Shouts to the chat. Somebody asked me if I could pick 2 fat heads on the wall, who would it be in the UFC? It would be Sean O'Malley and Yuri Prokoshkin. And Mark, me too, have a mic stand. But back to this fight. Drako Rodriguez versus Vince Morales. Rodriguez coming off a loss in his debut against Zahabi. Cost me a little bit of money. Showed that he has chin problems. Prior to that, I thought he was a pretty well-rounded fighter. He has a solid submission game, pretty good striking. I think his striking has natural power. 88% of his fights haven't seen the judges' scorecards also. Vince Morales, on the other hand, I think this is a pink slip type of fight for him. If he loses this fight, I think he definitely gets cut here. He's gone 2-4 in his last 6 fights. Last one being leg kicks to Gutierrez. Didn't really like to see that too much. I will give him the experience advantage here in this fight. He went to a pretty hard decision against Yadong. He's shown that he can easily let his opponent go forward on him, so I think that's the concern here in this fight. I wouldn't say he specializes in one category either, so it's hard for me to pick him. But I think even though his fights have been really underwhelming performances, they do both have a common opponent in Zahabi here, where Drako got knocked out by him pretty early, while Vince Morales won a clear decision over Zahabi and looked a lot better. Maybe Zahabi got better. Who knows? MMA math is not always the answer, but I think I ever so slightly lean to Vince Morales just because of the common opponent. And I think Draco's a product of, some people always want to fade the Contender Series guys. I'm not really in that camp, but I think Drako is on that list of, Contender Series made some cash on him, but since then, I'm out on this dude. I don't think he's that good. I don't think Vince Morales is good at all, so it's a no play for me. I would need a little bit more plus money on that. I think it's minus 115, minus 105, pick him. But I could definitely see why the money's been coming in on Vince Morales. I just don't think Draco's that good.
Okay. We got another dono here from Rusty Tenacone. Thank you, my friend. This card is fire, guys. I have Morales by knockout. Very fast, really good boxing combos. And state-level wrestling. Bye-bye Draco's chin when he gasses. I like the read. And, guys, I couldn't agree with you more. So, Vince Morales, I'm in a weird spot right now. Because, first off, Billy, to your point, I absolutely subscribe to the Dana White Contender Series fade. I was one of the first people to be like, you fade them their first shot in the UFC. And then I kind of got away from that, and then it started working, and now here I am with my thumb up my ass. So I really was all about fading guys like Drako their first fight in the UFC. And I've been cheering for Vince Morales, and I've bet him several times, but he's 1-3 in the UFC, so now I'm getting a little gun shy because I've lost a couple of bets on him. I put a tweet earlier out today that this card has me seeing PTSD. Like every single fighter on this card I've gotten wrong for like the last 2 years. So I don't know who to bet because everybody on this damn card has cost me money. So I lean to Vince Morales as well, simply because I think the kid is better than he's had the opportunity to show in the UFC for his entire run so far. And Drako Rodriguez is the kind of fighter that's going to give him the opportunity to really shine. He's going to stand in front of him. He's not going to move his head. They're going to go to war. But I'm kind of feeling our boy DFS and Danny, I think the under is the spot. I think violence is the spot here because if Drako Rodriguez wins this fight, is he going to outpoint Vince Morales? I don't see it. If he gets it to the ground, is he going to grind him? I still don't see that either. I think he subs him if he gets it to the ground. So I think Drako Rodriguez is really inside the distance or bust in this spot, and Vince Morales is a guy that can go to war with you on the feet. We've seen Drako take some bad shots, get knocked out a couple times before. And I don't think, like I said, I don't think he's going to have that grappling advantage. I think Vince Morales wrestling is good enough to keep this thing standing and then bomb on him. So if we can get that plus money on the under 2.5, or maybe even just take the even money fight doesn't go the distance, that's probably more the way that I'm going to be looking in this spot. The pick for me is going to be Vince Morales, but I don't know if I'm betting him. I also feel like I'm a little late to the party. I should have got that plus 125 when he was there earlier. I don't like it quite as much at this plus 100 or the minus 105. I feel like some of that value is definitely gone. So, yeah, I don't know. This one's got me sketched.
This one, you can't fade the Contender Series guys because they're both from there. So
yeah, that's the problem. I mean, the Contender Series fade already worked on my boy Vince Morales. It already worked on Drako Rodriguez, and now they're facing off here. You can't double fade in this spot, so I guess double fade is just a pass, right? Like I'd have to just not bet the fight. So, all right, there we go. All right, I like it. We've got the final fight of the preliminary card, and it's a good one. It is a good one. Lightweight battle between Bobby King Green and Rafael Fiziev. Bobby Green is 27-11-1. Rafael Fiziev is 9-1. And oh boy. So let's just talk about that line for a second, shall we? We've got Rafael Fiziev currently sitting as a minus 350 favorite. You can get plus 250, plus 260 on the underdog Bobby Green here in this spot. The crazy thing to me is that when this line opened up, it was Rafael Fiziev minus 145. So the original bookie line is that this thing was close to a pick'em, and the public has absolutely smashed on this thing. And now Rafael Fiziev is a massive, massive favorite. Bobby Green is a guy that extremely well-rounded, but kind of like Manel Kape, that low IQ. He absolutely makes some of the most awful decisions I've ever seen in a fight. And like I said, this card is full of people that cost me money. Bobby Green letting that decision slip away against Thiago Moises was a big, big decision for me and cost me a lot on a parlay. I think I had 3 different parlays that all closed out on Bobby Green. And it would have been a massive win for me if he had gotten the nod there. And I subscribe to the fact that I still think Bobby Green won that fight and it was a bad decision. But he always fights close. That's the problem. He refuses to run away from his opponents in a fight. If he gets out to a lead, he plays. He plays with his food. He gives them the opportunity to sneak their way back in or make it close. He's kind of a Diaz brother. But he's got high volume, good striking. You can't break this guy. You can't sub this guy. He's 2 inches taller than Rafael Fiziev, even though they have the same reach advantage. So he's going to have a size advantage in there as well. Now, Fiziev, we've all seen this guy straight out of the Matrix, right? One of the best MMA gyms in the world, Tiger Muay Thai. This guy's the freaking striking coach. Like, that's how good he is on the feet. He's got vicious knockout power. He knows how to dig deep. He's incredibly durable. And to this point in his UFC career, he's got a 100% takedown defense. So I get why everyone is on Fiziev, but the level of experience, I mean, we're talking Bobby Green has 38 professional fights to the 10 of Fiziev. Man, you guys, I feel like this line's gotten out of hand. This is another spot where I feel like the pick is Fiziev. Like, in my soul, I feel like Fiziev is going to win. But Bobby Green at plus 260 is incredibly interesting to me. I think it's disrespectful of his skill set. I think it's disrespectful of how large he's going to be in this fight. And even though Fiziev has a 100% takedown defense rating, who's he defended those takedowns from? Like, he has only gotten, I think, a small handful of takedown attempts against him because everybody else decided they wanted to strike with him. So that 100% takedown defense rating may be just a little bit fraudulent, and someone like Bobby Green might actually have a ground advantage here. I'm very tempted to toss just a single unit on a dogger pass spot where the line is absolutely inflated. Billy, I'm going to start with you. What are you doing here, man?
Man, Rafael Fiziev, even though not proven, might have some of the best impressive credentials in the UFC. Obviously, striking coach at Tiger Muay Thai, one of the most highly regarded camps. He has really good crisp striking, mixes it in with very good leg kicks as well. I will say his grappling is yet to be tested. His last opponent, Leonardo, was supposed to really give us answers to that. But I don't know what was up with Mikano on that day. Maybe he was smoking some weed or something like that. But he won the standing strike with Fiziev and absolutely got starched early in the fight. So I don't really know how much I can really take out of that. But I will give that to a feather in Fiziev's cap. Bobby Green, on the other hand, he reminds me a lot of Kevin Holland stylistically and personality-wise. A veteran of the sport, fan-friendly fighting style. I think he's a gatekeeper for these upcoming prospects. Fiziev has yet to be really tested with someone who can go strike for strike with him. I think Bobby Green will have the volume advantage, but Fiziev will have the technical advantage. I think the wrinkle here could be that Bobby Green is a good grappler, not really a submission artist, but I believe Fiziev should be able to outpoint Bobby Green and win a decision. So I'm probably going to have to wait till later into the week and get the Fiziev by decision prop. But being a minus 300 favorite going to decision, that gives me the hesitancy not to be on the bandwagon here. Bobby Green has only been knocked out by Dustin Poirier, so he's a durable fighter with a really good chin. That's why I like the decision prop. I really like fight to go to distance originally. If that line is somewhere around minus 150, minus 160, I really like fight to go to decision, price tag dependent. But if more money comes in on Bobby Green, I personally line this fight as Fiziev as a minus 250 favorite and Bobby Green a plus 175 underdog. But that's not the odds that we're getting. And Fiziev goes to a minus 325 and we get plus 275 on Bobby Green, I might be with you, Clint, and pull the trigger. It might not be a bet that I tell people about, but definitely an Instaprop for the Saturday show. But, man, this one gives my head spinning. I would not parlay up Rafael Fiziev. Way too wide of a price tag.
Okay,
man. I feel you there. Danny, what are you doing on this one?
I can't agree with you guys anymore. Something we didn't talk about this pay-per-view is in Texas, Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
There was some bad judging.
That's a great point.
You know how Green fights. He's scrappy. He can make this dirty. And for some reason, Fiziev, round 3 doesn't look good or the best. And if I'm not mistaken, I think my boy Brady pointed it out that he's lost multiple round 3s in all his fights in UFC. I really like that prop, Billy. I'm kind of high on that too. Like if it's plus money or Fiziev by decision or fight to go distance, I really like that one just to get both sides, just in case, because I think Bobby Green can make this a little tricky. He's a weird style for guys, and I'm big on Fiziev, but at minus 350, minus 325, that's ridiculous. Like, it's crazy. So I'm gonna look for a prop in this one. Probably fight goes to the decision, and just go from there. Hopefully, the judges are on my side.
Okay, man. I don't hate that at all. So the total right now is set at 2.5. The over 2.5 is minus 150. The under 2.5 is plus 120. So I think there is a lot. I think there is a lot of love out there for the under here because of the type of flashy finishes Rafael Fiziev has. I think maybe we fade the public here and don't worry about a side. Just go over because, yeah, man, Bobby Green is a very, very hard person to finish. So I think there's a good shot that this fight gets to the judges, and Rafael Fiziev by decision I think would probably be more the way to play it if you're gonna go that way. And then Bobby Green straight on the money line. Those are kind of the two ways that I think I would take a look at this one. But I think there's a lot of opportunity on this whole entire card to really just chop out the variance, man. If you go the over 2.5, don't care what ends up happening. This might be a greasy split decision where a lot of people win and lose a ton of money on. So maybe the over is probably the smarter play.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what that price tag opens up at, because fight not to go to distance or fight goes to distance. I feel like if fight goes the distance and it's around this like 125 minus 130, that's the play.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
I would personally, I'd probably buy that last 2.5 minutes. I'd probably lean more towards the 2.5. There's not a lot of times that's the case, but man, we've seen Bobby Green this close to finishing in the third round because of his gas tank so many times that it would not shock me. Like we've all talked about, Fiziev really hasn't been tested in the grappling, and he slows down in the third round. If Bobby Green volumes him up, if he works in the takedowns, if he makes this a complete mixed martial arts fight, there's a chance he is finally able to do something and pull off that finish late when Fiziev just isn't able to keep up with the grappling. So that last 2 minutes and 30 seconds would really terrify me if I had fight goes to decision. So I might pay just a little bit extra to make sure I don't have to sweat that.
Hey, Clint, it could possibly be one of those over 2.5s and sprinkle that little third round.
Danny, are you talking about a round 3 sprinkle?
I'm just saying. It might be that situation in this fight.
Man, I've sprinkled Bobby Green round 3 his last 4 fights in a row. Like, one of these days, that sumbitch is going to pay me. I swear he's going to get that third round finish. And you know what? It would be just my luck to be the hypest fighter of all time, Rafael Fiziev, when everyone writes off Bobby Green. That's the fight that he gets the third round finish in, and I don't get paid for it. So on principle, I might have to just bet that this weekend. We got another dono from our guy Rusty here. Anyone from Team Alpha Male this time, if Sal D'Amato and Chris Lee are around, they sure as hell are getting that decision. Faber gives out great weed. It's a good angle, man. It's a good angle. Hey, everybody remembers Alexander Hernandez, right? Like that was Texas, folks. Like that was Texas. So
I still have that video saved, bro. It was crazy.
Danny absolutely onto something with the Texas judging, something we need to remember, because man, if we thought the last fight card was wild, Texas judging, this card could be something. Honestly. All right, everybody. So they're always messing with me in the background here. Never mind. I was gonna take a minute to have a message from one of our sponsors, but it looks like somebody deleted them from my little control panel here. So we're not gonna do that. We're gonna move straight on over to the main card.
I can hit it for you.
I mean, go ahead and check it out, though, man. Our sponsor videos don't look like they're uploaded anymore. I think someone might have accidentally deleted them. I see the Taint Pod. I always save the PSR commercial for the final one before we sign off. So that's the one that we usually go for the last one. And yeah, PSR Live. Oh, wait a second. They just popped up. All right, here we go. Fuck it, we'll do it live. That's what's going on here, everybody. All right. So this is Pub Sports Radio. You're listening to the Die Hard MMA podcast. I'm joined by my boys, Billy Bills and Billy Briz and Danny. Danny Betts in the house. We're always hanging out on the live streams on Saturdays. We're doing a breakdown here for you. UFC Vegas 265. Smash that like button. Share this bad boy out there. We got 321 live viewers hanging out with us on this Monday evening. Thank you very much for spending your time with us here. First fight of the main card is a banger. Speaking of Team Alpha Male, Song Yadong taking on Casey Kenney. Song is 16-5. Casey Kenney is 16-3. Both of them have one draw as well on their records. And Song Yadong is a guy that, both these guys. I've been absolutely high on both these guys. They've got a great set of skills, in my opinion. Song Yadong, very physically strong. This guy's just a beast and walks through people in there. Very well-rounded, but he's got kind of a meat and potatoes striking style. Very light on his feet. He's got a good hard step-in jab. He's got a nice lead left hook. Tight boxing. I really like the striking from Song Yadong. Casey Kenney, this guy has a high pace. Chopping leg kicks, stays in your face the entire fight, slick footwork, good head movement. He's got a sneaky uppercut as well. Coming off of a loss, a very, very close fight to Dom. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage, and in my opinion, he's going to have a speed advantage here in this spot. So a very closely contested fight. We've already been warned about Team Alpha Male in Texas, so maybe, stacking the deck just a little bit here. But a close pick'em style fight. -115 on Casey Kenney, -105 on Song Yadong. And I did take a little taste of that -115. I got 1.15 units on Casey Kenney to go ahead and get the win here, to win 1 unit in this spot. I just think that Casey Kenney's volume, the reach advantage, and the speed are going to end up being too much. I think he's going to overwhelm Song Yadong with his speed. And even though they'll get into some striking exchanges, Song Yadong's only got a 56% takedown defense rating. Now, his get-up game is slick. This guy pops right back up to his feet. So I'm not expecting Casey Kenney to keep him down there. But when Casey Kenney mixes in that full, well-rounded MMA game, it doesn't matter. Like, he'll mat return you. You pop back up, he puts you right back down. Then he mixes in the striking on top of that. He tends to wear people down the longer the fight goes. So I do think it's going to be close. I do think it's going to be competitive. I see a lot of people out there disrespecting Song Yadong, and I want to be clear. I've only got 1.1 units on this one instead of hammering it because I absolutely respect the skill set of Song Yadong, and I do think that he's the harder puncher in this fight. He will make this fight close. He will land some big shots, and I don't think it's going to be a runaway for Casey Kenney, but I do think he gets his hand raised in the end. So I'm on the Casey Kenney side of things. Billy, are you playing this one? What do you got going here?
For starters, I feel like Casey Kenney's a very well-rounded fighter. I feel like he's improved tremendously of recent. I wouldn't say he's elite in any category of MMA, but he's very durable, and he has a solid gas tank. So far in the UFC, he's been a decision fighter. 5 out of his 6 fights, I've seen the judges' scorecards. His striking defense would be the only knock I have on Casey Kenney. His last fight versus Dominic Cruz, he looked fine in a close split decision, not really too bad to say anything about it. Song Yadong, on the other hand, prospect training over at Team Alpha Male. Still very young in his career, 23 years old. He's been in UFC since he was 19 years old. I don't really put too much stock into that loss against Kyler Phillips too much. His striking is very good. I think he has natural power behind his hands, which makes it aesthetically pleasing for the judges. I think the Marlon Vera and the Cody Stamen fights were really close, but I think that's like an example of what I mean. He lands the more aesthetically pleasing strikes. While I think Casey Kenney will have the advantage for control time, I think Yadong's striking will look better. I think this is a solid matchup for him on the feet. Being at Team Alpha Male, his grappling is always going to be improving. And then on top of that, Casey Kenney's not really a chain grappler. He doesn't really spam a lot of takedowns. He only averages 1.10 takedowns per 15 minutes. I like the price tag on Song Yadong. He's on my list of guys that I like at the bantamweight division. I think this fight will be close and it hits the judges' scorecards. So hopefully I'm just praying I'm on the right side of the decision. I like Yadong by KO or decision or money line, depending on where it opens up at. I think we'll see more money come in on Casey Kenney later on in the week, so I'll probably just wait till weigh-ins, make sure I get a good feel out for everything. But Song Yadong will be on my board this weekend.
Okay, all right. We got a head-to-head here on this one. Danny, can you split the tiebreaker?
Oh, man. Dude, this fight is a close fight for me, man. I've been back and forth, to be honest. Yadong, I like Yadong a lot. His get-up game is really good. He's definitely got the power advantage, but Casey, in my opinion, can mix it up way more. He could use the wrestling and clinch, throws a lot of volume. I like the Casey Kenney side on this one. My lean is Kenney by decision, but the prop I'm looking for is fight goes the distance, man. I'm gonna attack the props on this card. It's like I said, because it's in Houston. I don't trust the judges. I like a couple of violence bets. I like a couple, decision bets. So I'm leaning Kenney by decision and fight to go the distance.
Okay. Lean to Kenney. I like that. Fight goes the distance. I think that's solid, man. It's going to be a little bit pricey. It looks like the over 2.5 opened at about -200, which makes sense. I mean, Song Yadong and Casey Kenney are not guys known for getting finished. They can break people with their pace. They can finish the opposition, but I think that both these guys are high level enough. They'll go to war. and they'll be more than capable of hanging in there. So I don't hate that, man. The over 2.5, even though it's a bit chalky, I do think that's not a bad look. I want to shout out my guy Sex God in the chat, though. I completely agree. He says we haven't even seen Kenney's final form, and I completely agree with that. I kind of feel like we have seen the pinnacle of Song Yadong. I think this is the completed version of Song Yadong. I don't know that he's going to add any sudden, unexpected wrinkles that we haven't seen before, whereas I do think Casey Kenney is going to continue improving, and I think he can break through to the next level of the division, and that's kind of why I'm taking the shot back at him here. I do think that he's going to show some new wrinkles. I think he's going to have some extra, levels in there that he can maybe achieve. Is it this weekend that he gets there? Maybe not. I expect this fight to be close. I expect it to be a war, but I do think Casey gets his hand raised. Next fight up, one that I am very interested in. Tecia Torres taking on Angela Overkill Hill. This is a rematch, ladies and gentlemen, of a fight that took place some time ago. My girl, Tiny Tornado, Tecia Torres, 12-5, taking on Angela Hill, who is 13-9. And we saw just what Tecia Torres was capable of the last time out, man. You give this chick one little baby step down in competition, give her a breather from fighting the top 5 of her division, and she is on a 2-0 run with a TKO finish in there on one of those, something not a lot of people saw coming. She's got very good range control. She's got a front kick that she likes to snap out there on people. She's very physically strong, explosive. She's been sitting on her punches, it looks like, a little bit more, and she's got excellent timing and range management. Defensively, she's looking much sharper than we've ever seen her before. Angela Hill, honestly, in my opinion, she's 2 split decisions away from a title shot. Both of her last losses came by split decision. I very much disagree with the Claudia Gadelha split decision. The Michelle Watterson one, I'm not so strongly opinionated on. It was close. It could have gone either way, but I definitely think Angela Hill beat Claudia Gadelha. Angela Hill recently has been far more aggressive, staying in your face, Muay Thai striker, sitting down, also on her punches, more and more power each fight. It almost seems like as she's getting older, she's getting stronger. Angela Hill's very, very light on her feet, high volume, and she's another Bobby Green-esque fighter that she is always fighting close. She's always very competitive in her fights up or down to the level of her competition. Angela Hill's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage here, but Tecia Torres has the youth advantage. And if my guy Johnyy the Greek Gambler was on this podcast with us here today, what he would tell you is that rematches favored the fighter who won the last fight, and they also favored the younger fighter. In this position, Tecia Torres is both of those. So there's a very good argument to be made that Tecia Torres should win this fight because she owns the win already, and she's the younger fighter, so there's potentially more upside from her. But my counter argument to that is that Angela Hill has made some massive improvements since the first time that they fought, and she's been far more active in fighting at a much higher level of competition since that fight. I think a lot of people are biting on Tecia Torres' knockout the last time out. I think they're really counting on the fact that she disposed of a chick that was just getting her feet wet in the UFC, and they're maybe a little higher on her than they should be, whereas they're counting out Angela Hill for her split decision losses against some of the best this division has ever seen. Angela Hill's got a 76% takedown defense rating over the course of her career. However, shout out Uncle Weezy, she's got an 83% takedown defense in her last 5 fights. So even though her overall takedown defense is solid, it's been even better recently. So she's very much been working on her grappling. I actually think that Angela Hill's the bigger and stronger fighter. Even though she's slightly older than Tecia Torres, I don't think there's a problem with that whatsoever in this spot. I think that's going to make it much harder for Tecia Torres to do what she did in the first fight, which was expose that hole in the grappling. Tecia Torres went to the wrestling, got Angela Hill to the floor, and that was back when Hill was a far more solid Muay Thai only type of fighter. She's a mixed martial artist now, and I don't think Tecia's going to have the same kind of success. Striking, I favor Angela Hill, and I don't think Tecia's going to be able to hold Angela Hill down the way that she did. I waited for this line to flip, boys. We got Angela Hill as a plus 115 underdog, and I did go ahead and take my 2-unit shot on that spot to see if I'm right here and maybe get a split decision to go our way for once, Angie. Let's get this win. You know, Angela Hill did open up the favorite, I believe, in this fight in most places, and it's been love on the other side for Tecia Torres, causing that line to flip, and I will absolutely take that thin value at plus 115. Danny, how you playing this fight, man? What do you see?
No bet on this fight. I don't think I'm gonna bet it. It's probably a fat for me. But I gotta disagree a little bit. I think I lean Torres by decision. I just think she could mix it up a little bit. She might not be able to take her down like she did the first fight. That was so long ago. And I agree with you. I think Hill did make some improvements. But striking is not that. I think Hill's a little bit better striker, but it's not that far-fetched from Torres being pretty much even with her. And I think she could just mix it up and look good in certain rounds and steal this one probably like 29-28. And like I said before, we're in Houston, and for some reason the judges don't like Hill. Because I do agree she should maybe be on a 6-fight winning streak. But I don't know. I just can't bet Hill in this spot or Torres. So I'm a pass, but I lean Torres by decision.
Okay. All right. Billy, what about you, man?
Man, I feel like Angela Hill would never compete for a title, but she'll definitely fight for your money, though. She's a very aggressive striker. She would look to move forward on her opponent. For this matchup on paper, she has the volume advantage as well. Her biggest problem is grappling. Her takedown defense has improved, though, but not enough to compete with the upper echelon in the division. This might not be a problem for her because I think this fight will primarily take place on the feet. Tecia Torres is primarily a striker, but only being 5'1", she's always the shorter fighter than her opponent. They fought once before back in 2015, and she was able to win a unanimous decision. When I go back and rewatch that fight, that kind of changed my whole entire opinion on this fight because pre-flop, I was kind of liking the plus money side on Angela Hill, but when you rewatch that fight, she mixed in enough takedowns to get the job done pretty easily. Being that American top team, I would be absolutely shocked if they don't implement the same exact game plan for her in this one. If Torres is able to mix in some wrestling in this matchup, I think she can run away with the decision. Do I feel confident enough to run to the window with it? No, but I lean Tecia Torres by decision here. It's a crapshoot of a fight. It could go either way, but Tecia Torres is the pick.
Okay. So I'm on an island on this one, and you guys know I never hate that. So I'm all good with being the only overkill backer here in this spot. But I guess what I can say is make sure you're getting plus money. This is going to be a close fight. This is going to be a chalky spot, or not necessarily, sorry, it's going to be a close spot, not a chalky spot. Make sure you find a spot where you can get plus money, whether you take your fighter by decision, whether you wait for the line to move like I did so you get that plus 110, plus 115, something like that. Just don't lay chalk in this spot, in my opinion, personally. I know there's some people out there buying minus 140 on Tecia Torres, and I just don't see it. I don't think that's the right way to play this one. I think this is a contender for a lock of the night spot. Shout out MMA lock of the night. The over 2.5 minus 400. I don't see a finish in this spot whatsoever. A lot of people think maybe Tecia Torres might be able to knock out Angela Hill. You know how hard that is? You don't knock out Angela Hill. And just because she got a finish over, like I said, a girl who's basically debuting in the UFC, I don't know that's not going to transition. She's not the same as Angela Hill. You know what I mean? And if this is going to be a striking match, I do think it's going to be a close, competitive point fighting type of battle. So if you're into chalky parlays, that's a leg that maybe you can look at. Not my style, but just wanted to mention it.
Yeah, I'm not going to blame you, Clint. I'm taking start round 2 in the Hail Mary parlays for sure.
There you go.
I don't care about the price tag.
Right, facts.
All right, guys, we're actually getting through this thing way faster than I expected tonight. Unfortunately, no word here from our special guest, so we might just have to put a pin in that. We'll wait for next time. Maybe his schedule got him a little busy. But we're powering through this bad boy with some awesome breakdowns from the Pup Boys here. Next up, we've got Michael Chiesa taking on Vicente Luque. Michael Chiesa is 18-4. Vicente Luque is 20-7. Oh, boy. And you all know I added a new rule. And that rule is we do not bet against Vicente Luque. Well, here I am. It's another fight night, and I have 2 units on Michael Chiesa as the underdog, everybody. I've broken the rule the first opportunity that I had it, and I can't help myself here. So both these guys, exactly like we've talked about a couple times on the pod already, man, I have such bad luck with every single fighter on this card. I can't call these people correctly. I've faded both Chiesa with horrible results, and I've faded Luque with horrible results. So thankfully, I didn't bet Tyrone Woodley. I can't say I'm that bad trying to fade Vicente Luque. But guys, I'm buying in here on the Maverick. since Chiesa has moved up to 170, he looks like a monster. I don't know how he ever made 155. He is huge at this weight class. He's like the American Khabib. This guy chain grapples. He's got the Dagestani handcuff. He stays on top of you. He attacks with submissions from all angles and locations. He's got those long, crazy legs. He can sweep. He can submit. He sells out for that takedown. 3.6 takedowns per 15 minutes. And he lands with a 52% accuracy. I know he hasn't fought the highest level of competition at 170, but that's still damn impressive to be able to hit half your takedowns at the UFC level. Now, Vicente Luque, this guy is crazy well-rounded. He likes to force a very technical brawl. He's an incredible striker. He's got fight-ending power. He's durable as hell. This guy is so hard to put away. And honestly, he's got really underrated grappling. That's something that does scare me just a tidbit here, is that he is slicker on the ground than people give him credit for. But the key for me is that Vicente Luque's got a 65% takedown defense. Even though he has been able to, force brawls with a lot of people, he's been striking with almost everybody he's fought recently. It's been a long time since we've seen the takedown defense and grappling of Vicente Luque tested, and I just think the physicality of Michael Chiesa, I think the size, the strength is going to be what ends up making the difference, and I do think that he'll be able to win minutes and grind on Vicente Luque, whether it's pinning him up against the fence or getting him to the floor and putting him on his back. There is the threat that Vicente Luque knocks this guy out on the feet. It's always there, and Chiesa has been subbed before, so Vicente Luque, he's well-rounded. I am a little nervous about him getting something going on the ground against Chiesa, but I'm going to go ahead and buy in on this guy. I think the UFC is behind Chiesa. They see something in him, and Vicente Luque seems to be that always the bridesmaid, never the bride type of fighter. I could see him falling short in this spot and having Chiesa go ahead and take his ranking. So what do you guys feel about this one? Danny, let's start with you, man. How you feeling on this one? You got anything?
Man, another fight that I've been torn on, man. I agree. Obviously, I can't get that line you got on Chiesa, but there's so many questions for me about this fight. Like, Luque, one of his best friends is Gilbert Burns, and I think that's always a plus. And I could see him just helping him out, give him advice and give him BJJ advice for sure. It's crazy because Luque has never fought a wrestler like Chiesa. Like, Chiesa hasn't fought a power puncher like Luque.
Yeah.
So it's a crazy matchup. I can't wait for this fight. My lean is Chiesa, just because I like the grappling and obviously the wrestling. Like, it's overpowering. Like you said, at 170, he's been looking amazing, and he's huge, like you said. So I'm looking at the under possibly, or Chiesa by decision, or Luque inside a distance. But my pick and lean would be Chiesa by decision, and I think the dog hits here.
Okay. All right. We got another dog shot. Billy, what are you doing on this one, man?
Man, this one's a weird one. Luque's coming into this fight on a 3-fight winning streak, but I think it's not the most impressive one ever. Last one being against Tyron Woodley, who's no longer with the promotion anymore, Randy Brown, and Nico Price. I believe there's a clear striking advantage for him in this bout, but he's yet to face a grappler in any of those fights. And when he's fought wrestlers like Leon Edwards, was able to secure the takedowns in his fight, and Mike Graves took him down 7 times in his UFC debut. Well, I think he probably got better than that. But Chiesa, on the other hand, since moving up to welterweight, he's on a 4-fight winning streak here. He's finally filling out at this weight class. It amazes me that he was even able to make 155. Even though he's on this win streak, he's yet to face, like Danny said, anybody as dangerous on the feet as Luque. I just don't think that Luque will be able to stop the takedowns, but every round starts up on the feet. So I think there's inherent dangers back in Chiesa here in this spot if he gets into a firefight. But I feel like Chiesa's fight IQ is on point enough to attack this fight in the right angle. If he can secure this win, I think he could be a dark horse for getting a fight against Usman after Covington. And from a sports betting perspective, when I line this fight as Chiesa, the -130 favorite, and +110 on Luque. So I think there's inherent value on Chiesa. It's my favorite bet on the board this week. I already placed it. I got 2 units on it. I think we're getting a good line value on him up until a -110 pick 'em. It's honestly my favorite play of the weekend.
Damn. All right. So I made a bet on it. Me and Danny both a little uncomfortable, but Billy coming in swinging hard. Favorite bet of the week. And honestly, handicapped Michael Chiesa as the favorite in this spot. That makes me feel better. It makes me feel like I'm not quite such a dart-throwing idiot over here. So I'm glad to hear that, man. Hey, hopefully we can cash that ticket. That would be absolutely awesome. I do think Chiesa is just I know a lot of people in the chat are like freaking out because, again, I'm going against Vicente Luque here. But honestly, guys, I think that Chiesa at 170 is just a different creature. Like, you got to throw everything you know about that guy from 155 out the window. He's not that guy anymore. Like, up at 170, he's a beast. I think that matters here.
Yeah, shout out to somebody in the chat put Chiesa by pregnancy. I want to see the odds on that prop.
Yep, I agree, and I like it. If that's the game plan, I think we're set. All right, guys, we have got the co-main event of UFC UFC 265 coming up here. High stakes in this one. Bantamweight co-main event. Jose Aldo taking on Pedro Munoz. Jose Aldo is 29-7. Pedro Munoz is 19-5. And let's just say it like it is. Pedro Munoz is known for the leg kicks, but Jose Aldo wrote the script. This was the original leg kicking machine, was Jose Aldo. But I almost think like something's wrong with his legs, guys. Like, he has not gone to that game plan in a long time. I almost got to wonder if he did it too much in his young days. Like, maybe he busted up his shins and it, in his old worn days, it hurts too much or something. I don't know, because it rarely comes that he busts out a leg kick. He hits hard when he does it, but it's just not as often anymore. Jose Aldo, one of my favorite things that he does is these filthy hooks to the body. He just rips to the body, and he's got those long arms, generates a lot of power attacking the body of his opponents. He is the weight cut master. I have no idea how Jose Aldo gets down to bantamweight, and he looks like death on the scales every single time, but I've learned my lesson. He's one of those rare fighters that can be knocking on death's door on Friday and then fill right back up come Saturday and have no problem in the fights. So even though I'm going to tell you on my post-weigh-in show on Friday that he looks awful, it doesn't mean that I'm betting against him for that reason, because I've paid for that too many times and I've learned my lesson. This guy is he's a champion. He's fought champion-level competition his whole career. He's had a little bit of a resurgence lately. And honestly, his last win, he surprised everybody by going to the grappling against Chito Vera. That fight was very close, competitive, 1-1 going into the third. And Jose Aldo backpacked the kid for 5 minutes to go ahead and get that decision win. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage here in this fight, and that's definitely something that people need to take notice of. Pedro Munoz, like I said, he's taken over. He's the new calf kicking king. This guy goes to the calf every single fight he's in, and he sits hard on his punches. Pedro Munoz is a guy that does not want to get paid by the hour. He tries to get his opponents out of there, and he tries to do it as fast as possible. He's got fast, heavy hands. He's crazy durable, and honestly, he loves to brawl. This guy has no respect for his opponent's power and is more than willing to throw down and bank on his chin versus anybody in the world. These guys both take a punch to give a punch, but the problem for me is the difference in volume. Jose Aldo averages 3.45 significant strikes per minute. He absorbs 3.52. So ever so slightly, he's been outlanded by his opponents over the course of his UFC career. I blame Max Holloway for a lot of that. Pedro Munoz averages 5.6 significant strikes per minute, absorbing 5.87. Nearly identical. Both guys getting slightly outlanded by their opponents, but Pedro just has a much higher volume. And what we've noticed from Jose Aldo is he slows down. The weight cut is getting to him. The years and the miles on his body are getting to him. And in that third round, he's not the same guy as he is in the first or the second round. I think this is a sneaky spot for Pedro Munoz simply because of that durability and the pace. Right now, plus 105, the underdog Pedro Munoz, minus 125, the favorite Jose Aldo. Little bit of love coming in on Pedro Munoz, closing that line down ever so slightly. This is a spot where when I was looking ahead on this card without doing my research a couple weeks ago, I was like, man, I'm going to take Jose Aldo in that spot. Like, I just knew I was going to be on Jose Aldo here because it's a big jump in competition for Pedro. After watching the fight, after reading into it, that 5-inch reach advantage is about the only thing I can give Jose Aldo here. I think that for where they're at this stage of their careers, even though they're the same age, those miles make a difference, and I think Pedro Munoz looks like the much younger, fresher fighter. I think his pace is going to be the issue if Jose Aldo doesn't get him out of there early, which, let's be real, nobody gets Pedro Munoz out of there early. I think Pedro's just going to take over. Whether he breaks Jose Aldo late or whether he wins a 15-minute decision, I just think that volume is going to add up and end up being a problem for Jose Aldo. Danny, I'll start with you, man. Anything on this fight for you?
I haven't bet it yet because I want to see where the line goes, and I'm on Aldo here. I like his counters. The guy's pressure, he's going to be in your face, and like they say, it's a different game plan once you get hit in the face. And I don't think those leg kicks for Munoz is going to work against Aldo. He's too smart, and his defense against those leg kicks are really, really good. And that's going to change his whole style. I guarantee you in this fight that I think Munoz is going to try to rely on those kicks, and once he finds out that he can't hit him as much as he wants with those kicks and gets countered with straight rights or a couple of hooks here and there and pressure from Aldo, just straightforward, I'm probably taking by money line, and I love to see all that money coming out of Munoz because I'm just going to sit and wait and see if I could get maybe plus money or even money. I'll take it. So I'm going to make that bet if I get a nice little line.
Okay. So standing against the market, I always like hearing that. Billy, how about you, man? You got a play on this one?
First thing I'll say about this one is RIP tribute for the co-main event. I thought this card was the best betting card ever. I thought I was going to parlay Amanda Nunes, Ciryl Gane, call it a weekend, not have to search and bet some crappy fights. But, man, this is a weird one here. This is the new co-main event. I feel like Aldo's legend of a sport. He's been on a decline for years now. He snapped a 3-fight losing streak. His last fight went into decision versus Marlon Vera. Sometimes a fighter just needs to – it's like a basketball player when he goes cold and he shoots that three-pointer and it just goes inside the bucket. He just needs to see the win happen one more time late in his career at this weight class. It's a winnable fight for Aldo. He will have the reach advantage. My only problem here is the volume in the spot versus Munoz. I feel like Munoz is a very durable fighter and has a solid enough chin to be in there with Aldo. Ultimately, Aldo has been acceptable to leg kicks of recent. I expect Munoz to use a heavy leg kick game plan. Aldo will land the heavier strikes, but Munoz should be able to land the volume and pressure forward more. It's all about what the judges are really seeing on that night. I think this fight will hit the scorecards. We complained about the Vegas judging of recent, but the judging in Texas isn't going to get any better this week. With Munoz throwing in those leg kicks like he did versus Jerome Rivera his last fight, he could eliminate some of the power that Aldo has. I lean with Munoz, but not confidently enough to go to the window with it. I think the line is in his favor. I think this fight's closer towards a pick'em than Aldo being a minus 142 favorite, but I don't have the balls to really bet against Jose Aldo here. I just don't want to bet this fight at all, but Pedro Munoz is going to be the pick for me.
Okay. You know, I got to tell you guys, I have not bet this fight. So, I've got a hot take on it. I kind of lean to Pedro Munoz, but I have yet to put my money on this one, so I'm kind of right there with you guys with it being close. I don't know if I'll end up getting to the window by fight time. It does smell a little bit funny to me, but I can't deny that I line up on the Pedro Munoz side of things.
I mean, another way of looking at it is the over. I mean, don't pick a side and you just go with the over if fight goes to the decision.
I think you should just enjoy this from just a fan perspective. Just don't bet this fight. I think you want to get greasier. There's a lot greasier spots on the card.
If there was ever a fight that you really can just sit back and enjoy, this one will be it. This should be a barn burner, and if it goes all 15, it should be incredible to watch, or there will be a spectacular finish, absolutely. Danny talking about the over. It looks like it's set at 2.5 right now, and, man, it's too chalky for me. Minus 205 for these guys going over. The kind of heat that Jose Aldo throws, I'm not stepping in front of that. The way that Munoz chops people down and goes to war in there, I'm not betting the over at minus 205 against that. That's way too big a price tag. If anything, that would tempt me to bet on violence. I'd be looking under it, like plus 165 there more than anything.
Give me Aldo plus money.
I just can't see Aldo just completely starching Pedro Munoz. I think this hit the scorecards.
Yeah, that's my lean too.
You know, honestly, if anything, this would be another sprinkle for me, guys. I might look at the Munoz round 3 sprinkle, because if that volume does start to wear on Jose Aldo, you know, that's how Max Holloway did it. He got him out of there in the 3rd round in both of his fights. Peter Yan should have got Jose Aldo out of there in the 3rd or the 4th round, but the judges or the official felt like watching Jose Aldo die in the cage, so it went to the 5th round instead. If Pedro Munoz really is the better fighter in this spot, I think there's a chance that he makes a statement trying to get Jose Aldo out of there late, but I don't know. Yeah, that might be my only look, is just a little degenerate sprinkle on that round 3 finish.
God bless, man. God bless. It's all about the sprinkles. Sprinkles
It's
add
all
up.
about the sprinkles.
Somebody put in the chat earlier, it was like 1-800 third round sprinkle.
I love it. Hey, shout out to Peter Houghton here. Let me tell you, my friend, I've done some Muay Thai training myself, and I bought my pair of shin pads real quick. I have taken a few leg kicks, and it does not feel good. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm more of a BJJ guy than a striker because I straight don't like getting hit. I don't know how these animals do it. It's not fun.
It's crazy.
I would do celebrity boxing. Pay me that Jake Paul check.
Oh, I'll definitely do that. MMA is a different sport. I've done boxing. I can do that, but not MMA.
Hey, if I am ever big enough to do a celebrity boxing match or some shit like that, I am all about it. But leave my shins and ankles alone, man. I can take a punch to the face with 16-ounce gloves, but don't be leg kicking me. I want to walk tomorrow.
Right.
All right, everybody. It is main event time. We're going to take a real quick break to hear another ad from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back to break down the main event for you. All right, welcome back to the Die Hard MMA podcast, sponsored by Pub Sports Radio. We're joined by the Pub crew here, Billy Briz and Danny Betts with me, talking UFC 265. It's main event time. Derrick Lewis, the Black Beast, taking on Ciryl Gane, the undefeated phenom at 9-0. Derrick Lewis 25-7. And realistically, when you look at these guys, it's so simple to just put them in their little box. Derrick Lewis is probably the second hardest hitter in the UFC, only second to Francis Ngannou himself. The man has dynamite in his hands, and he's kind of KO or bust, if we're being honest. Low volume, likes to knock people out. Ciryl Gane on the other side of this thing, 9-0 undefeated. There's not a lot of tape for this guy, and he has no business being as good as he is with only 9 professional MMA fights. He's maybe one of the biggest freaks we've seen in the UFC to this date. Light on his feet, moves incredibly well, sticks and moves, high fight IQ, outpoints his opponents, and just kind of does whatever he wants to in there because no one seems to be able to catch the guy at the heavyweight weight class. No one can match this dude's speed or get a hand on him. Derrick Lewis, honestly, doesn't have great takedown defense in my opinion, but he has worked a new style of takedown defense, which is uppercuts. If you just get in and close the distance, apparently he'll just knock you dead. I thought that Curtis Blades was going to have a field day with Derrick Lewis, and that was one of the scariest knockouts I've ever seen in my life. He also has a very sneaky head kick that he whips out 2-3 times per fight that he can catch just about anybody with. And of course, the patented fuck you get up game. If you happen to get this guy to the floor, he's such a freak of nature, he can just bench press a 300-pound man off of his chest and stand back up whenever he wants to. It is worth being noted that Derrick Lewis is 10-0 undefeated in his home state of Texas, where this fight has taken place over the weekend. Ciryl Gane is a guy that, I made him prove it to me last time out. My dark horse for the heavyweight division has always been Alexander Volkov, and I lined up in a big way against Ciryl Gane, basically saying if you're going to get to the title, you got to get through this man, and I was more than willing to take that shot, and I paid for it. Ciryl Gane looked like an absolute machine in there against my guy Drako. And here we are. Gane is a -400 favorite. You can get Derrick Lewis as a +300 underdog, where realistically, guys, Lewis has just got a puncher's chance. There is no world where Derrick Lewis outpoints Ciryl Gane, because the only way he could do it is by dropping Gane. First off, no one's been able to hit Gane hard or clean enough to drop him, and if he does, Derrick Lewis has got the kind of power that I don't think you're doing that more than once. If he hits you hard enough to drop you, maybe you survive 1, you're not surviving 2. So he's not stealing 3 rounds with knockdowns. He's going to knock Gane out, or he's going to lose this fight in any other form or fashion Gane wants to. Gane is the better grappler. Gane is faster. He's the better overall striker. He has less power, but don't count out the TKO for Ciryl Gane as well. It's hard for me to get behind Ciryl Gane at this price tag just because I don't feel comfortable parlaying a lot of spots on this card. And Derrick Lewis has ruined a hell of a lot of parlays in the past before. So I don't have any action on the main event yet. I'm going to figure something out, but at this point, I've got nothing. Danny, do you have a move here on the main event?
Oh, man. So, obviously, I'm on Gane on this one. The problem is, the issue I'm having is how to bet him. Because when was the last time that Lewis went to a 4th and 5th round? It's been a while. I know he got knocked out by Mark Hunt in the 4th round, if I'm not mistaken. That was years ago. I understand that. There's no chance in hell this goes to decision and Lewis wins a decision. I don't care if it's at Houston, Texas, his hometown. There is no way, like you said. But if you're backing Lewis here, it's clear as day. Just go with the prop, the KO prop, and that's a nice little number. I'm not gonna lie, but my initial lean is Gane by decision. He's one of the greatest technical strikers I've seen in the heavyweight division. I faded him last. I was with you, Clint, on that Volkov play last time, and for some reason nobody could figure out the puzzle with Gane. He's just too quick, too athletic. His jab is amazing, and he's just too technical. And if you had the little clinch work he does, puts you against the fence, little elbows here and there, try to get you tired, body shots, leg kicks. I think he gets it by decision, and that might be my play. We'll see.
Okay. All right. Billy, what about you, man? You made a move yet?
Man, shouts to Big Show Picks for this one. He runs a lot of the producing stuff for Pub Sports Radio. Last fight against Volkov, I was on Volkov too. But when we're watching the fight tape, we chill in the Pub Sports Radio Discord and sometimes watch fight tape. He opened up a lot of things that I didn't really respect Gane for. And I think the best way to describe it is Gane has the Israel Adesanya effect at the heavyweight division for this weight class. It just seems like when people get inside the octagon with him, they don't really respect how big that he really is. And they can't really punch off on him too much. I think Gane here is the obvious spot. I think the better conversation is how do you attack this fight. I think Gane is easy enough to put in the parlays if you can find a second piece that you're confident with. Maybe you're confident with Alonzo Menifield or Rafael Fiziev. Me personally, I'll probably be looking at Johnyy and Munoz or parlaying up some overs on those female fights. I don't really know, but I think this is a pretty easy fight to somewhat hedge because Derrick Lewis is only live by knockout here. But I think the way to attack this fight is psychological warfare. You're going to have to do a little bit of research, watch some interviews and stuff like that. Watching the UFC embedded episode that came out today, while none of my capping really has anything to do with that, I will say I do like what Ciryl Gane was talking about in the UFC embedded episode. When he came off the flight, he was like, we landed in Derrick Lewis's state. This is his city. I'm coming in here for the job done. And the thing that's more interesting about this fight, I thought I was on the Danny side of this fight going to decision. But when you look at the sports books actually have the KO kind of juice. The sports books say that Gane gets this done by knockout. And I think the move here is to parlay up Ciryl Gane and play him inside the distance at probably it's going to be even money. And I think Gane is the I hate doing this at the heavyweight division because it's burned you so many times, but Gane is the most confident parlay piece of the weekend.
Yeah, man. You want to go full tinfoil hat here on this one. I completely agree with you about the UFC embedded stuff, man. They set this thing up in a big, big way. So first off, gotta bust it out here because seriously, what they've done here is we have a perfectly good active champion in Francis Ngannou, the man who everybody can't get enough of, and for some reason they're putting an interim strap on these two men when the champion is more than able and willing to fight right now. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. The only way it makes sense is because they want his former training partner, Ciryl Gane, to have a belt around his waist and have a grudge match for the training partners, champ against champ unification belt to make the biggest heavyweight fight of all time ever. And when you watch that embedded video, they start by hyping the shit out of Derrick Lewis. He's the guy they intro. He's the guy that comes in first. If you watch the not the embedded, but the UFC and countdown. That's it.
Yeah.
They start with Derrick Lewis, and they go hard in the paint for Derrick Lewis. They make him look like a complete monster, and then they take the nice guy approach with him, like helping save people in the hurricanes and stuff, and then they immediately roll a commercial where a fitness app sponsored by the UFC has Ciryl freaking Gane as the face of it. The real money's behind Ciryl Gane, folks.
Yes,
the real
facts.
UFC push is behind Ciryl Gane. So they set this thing up. Instead of Francis getting to get a win over Derrick Lewis in the rematch that nobody wanted, they're instead going to give the opportunity to Gane so he gets a belt, gets a little more hype, takes all the good guy vibes off the fan favorite, and then goes to fight Frankie Murder. That's the tinfoil hat theory right there.
I agree.
You got to put the tinfoil hat theory on these main events because it's really been going like that the last month.
That makes a lot of sense. Think about it. Houston, Derrick Lewis's fan base, hometown, they're trying to build him up, get all his fans,
Yep.
and watch him lose.
Put that rub on Gane. Man, they did it to Diego Sanchez. They put him in his backyard against freaking Michel Pereira. He was supposed to go out on his shield that night. So there's a precedent. There's definitely some history of the UFC pulling this shit off before. Guys, I'm so twisted on this fight. I want to shout out Captain XCLP2. Nailed it. This is where I'm looking. Gone by submission. The one time we have seen Derrick Lewis just really absolutely handled on the mat, it was by a guy that could grapple at a high level in Daniel DC Cormier, and sure enough, he got the submission. He had nothing on his back once he got to a dominant position against Derrick Lewis, and I think that's something that Ciryl Gane might be able to take advantage of. Obviously, Gane inside the distance is going to cover your bets there a little bit, but I think they've got it at 10-1 right now. Is Gone by submission, so I'm gonna definitely be sprinkling.
I'm gonna definitely sprinkle that 1-800 sprinkle all day.
1-800 sprinkle, baby. Because I think that Ciryl Gane is gonna do exactly what he always does. He's gonna stay at range. He's gonna pick and poke at Derrick Lewis, and whether Derrick gets over aggressive at some point, or whether he decides to level change once Derrick Lewis slows down, I think the ground game is the key. Whether it's a submission or a TKO, I think that's where this fight ends, because I don't think that Ciryl Gane is going to just dead Derrick Lewis on the feet. I don't think he's going to hit him with something hard enough to just kill him with his bare hands or something like that. So I think it's going to come on the mat, but I do think it's going to come a little bit later. The total right here is set at 2.5. The over is -148. The under is +110. Don't get me wrong. These are heavyweights. Two of the biggest boys and the hardest punchers in the game today. So this thing could be over in round one. But I'm going to go ahead and say third round submission for Ciryl Gane. That's going to be the official prediction from my side of things. Danny, what about you, man? What's your official prediction for the main event?
I think I'm going to attack the inside distance prop with Gane and then just sprinkle that submission prop for sure and the inside distance. So I'm going to attack inside distance and maybe how in Bovada they had the round props by submission? Because those are juicier. So I'm gonna see where those are at and maybe sprinkle a few of those.
There you go. Yeah, the alternate total here, Ryan Grant, talking about the 4.5. Yeah, I think that'd be an easy under spot if you like that alternate 4.5. Billy, final prediction on the main event, man. What do you think? How's this one ending?
I'm going to have to go Ciryl Gane knockout round 3. I'm going to go round 3 knockout.
All right.
Three's the move.
Hey, the round 3 sprinkle. We got some agreement on that. All right. So here's the thing, guys. I have a bad history with Ciryl Gane, and I would love nothing more than Derrick Lewis to knock his ass out and take his rightful spot, challenging Francis Ngannou for the unified strap, just absolutely ruining the UFC's plans in this fairy tale ending. I would love nothing more than to see Derrick Lewis pull this shit off. The problem is I don't see it happening. So my heart will be firmly in Derrick Lewis's corner. I hope we get another unreal bomb knockout, but unfortunately, I just don't see it happening. That's UFC 265, everybody. We're breaking down the entire thing for you here. My guests were absolutely awesome. this evening. Make sure you give them both a follow over on Twitter. Danny, the floor is yours, man. If you got anything you want to shout out, if you want to let the people know where to follow you, now's your shot, man.
Yes, sir, man. It was awesome being here, Clint. I appreciate it, man. It was a big honor. You can find me at Danny Betts on IG, Twitter, and TikTok with my fellow brothers from TikTok, Billy and Clint, making fun of content. Yeah, it is. I'm always here on Pub Sports Radio and live streams for Bellator and UFC, so you can always find me here. This Thursday, I'm actually going to Miami for a Titan FC card on Friday. Ooh. You meet up with my boy Boston Nick. Should be a great experience. We went the first time, got to meet an equal price, a couple UFC fighters, a bunch of teams and coaches from ATT. So there should be a lot of videos and pictures out there and good content. So stay tuned for that. Give me a follow. I'll follow back. Let's get it.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. All right. And Billy, man, the moment is yours. Go right ahead. Let the people know where they can find you.
For starters, I'll give you my betting card for this weekend. Prop-wise, I'm looking at Alonzo Menifield rounds 1 or 2. 2 units already placed on Chiesa, and then probably we'll parlay up Gane, trying to find a second parlay piece that's going to do a little bit more deeper research. But you can find me over on Twitter at Getting Bills. All my picks are usually posted on the Action Network app. On top of that, man, couldn't ride out any hotter than I did last week. We're going to try to continue the same exact method this week and just try to pick and choose the spots that I really feel confident in. Like I said earlier, man, girlfriend birthday is tomorrow. If there's ever a week to tell me, it would be last week and this weekend. You still got a chance for this pay-per-view event.
Gotta make that money for the girl's birthday, man. I hear you. All right. So that's the whole show, everybody. Thank you very much for sitting tight with us. I do want to send you guys out on a high note. And one thing that I've got some PTSD from, speaking of the PTSD I've got from this entire damn card. Growing up, my dad used to always say, make today a great day or not. That choice is yours. And it pissed me off. I could not stand it when he would tell me that. But now that I've gotten older and now that I've gotten wiser, the fact is the man was right. There's not a lot that we can control out there these days, guys. You can't control what anybody else does or says, and especially with social media, you got people picking at you and always starting shit every single day. Control yourself, control your responses to other people, control your attitude, try to surround yourself with good, positive people. And the fact is your life is going to be better for it. Let the haters roll off. Don't give them the time of day. And you know what? If you are one of those haters, you're going to live a hell of a much better life, and you're going to be a whole lot happier if you let go of that hate and that anger. Control yourselves. Don't worry about anybody else or what they do. You guys go out there. Have a great week. I hope everybody cashes some tickets on all your degenerate action for the rest of the week. And, of course, we got shows here on Pub Sports Radio the entire time, keeping you busy. And we will see you guys next week right here on the Die Hard MMA podcast. Have a good one.
Discord link, USA versus Spain starts in 2 hours. We're going to nail that game.
There you go. Check the Discord. If you're not in the Pub Sports Radio Discord, get your ass in there.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
roll.